50 years. 50 years.
I just feel that was off.
50 years. 50 years.
I don't know how people do it.
50 years. 50 years.
I'm gonna say this 50 times.
50 years.
Since my grandfather Peter Bianco started this business since 1968. We want to thank all our friends, family, and customers out there for your continued support. We could not have done this without you. So 50 years is a long time. My grandfather started off in the basement of his house, and basically it's a true American icon story. He had nothing, created it, and built it into one of the world's largest model train discount stores. We're now on our 3rd generation, and hopefully, fingers crossed, 4th generation upcoming. So thank you very much for sharing this ride with us. We appreciate it, and stay tuned. We have some of the titans of the industry, kind of a tribute to my grandfather, and join us ahead.
50 years. 50 years is a long time. It's longer. TrainWorld has been around longer, and Trainland has been around longer than I've been alive. And it's an amazing thing to be a part of, and I'm very proud to be a part of it. I enjoy being a part of it, and I'm very grateful to be a part of it. It's fulfilling to see how everybody's contributions make everyone else happy. It's a great hobby, model railroading. It's a great way to build relationships, meet people, and my grandfather had an incredible vision, and we now have 2 locations, and we ship all over the world. So I like to think that our customers are also a part of our experience. We're making a lot of people happy, spreading the joy of model railroading all around the world. So I'm grateful for that, and it's a great thing to continue my grandfather's legacy, and keep his name going. And it's really special that customers today still come in the store, or if we're at a show or wherever, people call up and they speak of their experiences with my grandfather. It happens almost every day, and it's really an incredible thing. It really, you can't say enough about Grandpa Pete. He was a positive influence in everybody's life. Everybody that he came into contact with, they can tell you a story about Pete Bianco. And he had a charisma about him. He was a gentleman. He was really special, and it's part of the reason why I'm proud to be a part of the business today. And so thanks for watching, thanks for listening, thanks for your support, and we'll keep on chugging along.
From one company born last century to another, Lionel Trains offers TrainWorld our most heartfelt congratulations on your 50th anniversary. In any industry, starting a business is always difficult. So what your grandfather accomplished is a great feat and a credit to your family's continued dedication to not only Lionel Trains, but the train hobby in general. Lionel Trains truly appreciates your partnership to introduce your customers and new generations of families to the train hobby. Your forward-looking use of media opportunities, engaging customers, and sharing the love of trains, from exposure on The Sopranos to social media and live events, you always look for new ways to engage train fans. On behalf of Lionel Trains and all our employees, we appreciate the time, effort, and dedication your family across 3 generations have put into helping Lionel Trains stay relevant for all these years. Again, congratulations, and here's to the next 50th anniversary.
Hey, Ken Silvestri, Broadway Limited Imports. Kenny Bianco Jr. and Sr. both asked me to share a memory of their father and grandfather, Peter Bianco. So here goes. Let me set the scene for you. I'm new into trains. I'm working for Jerry Williams at Williams Electric Trains in Columbia, Maryland. Jerry comes in one morning and he says, "Ken, I need you to move some inventory." Right then I knew I had to call the king of the closeout, Peter Bianco. So I mustered my courage together and I call Peter and I get him on the phone. Now remember, this is before computers, before email, before even fax machines. So we go through all the information and we get it all right, all the prices, and we haggle back and forth and we strike a deal. And I'm so relieved. I sit back in my chair and I'm exhausted. But I made a deal with Peter Bianco. And then Peter says to me, "Ken," he goes, "as soon as we hang up, I want you to go into Jerry Williams and tell him to give you a raise." And right then, and even right now, it warms my heart because it made me feel so good. So I went into Jerry and, well, I didn't get the raise, but that's neither here nor there. But it did. It always stuck with me. And to Peter Bianco, thank you so much. And one last thing. I'm sure when Peter looks down and he sees the job that Kenny Sr. and Kenny Jr. are doing with TrainWorld and Trainland and all the other Biancos, I'm sure he's very, very proud. Again, Peter.
Hi, I'm Len Carparelli. My business is L&L Model Train Restoration, and we've been restoring model trains for, I'd say, almost 46 years now. And interestingly enough, one of my first customers was Kenny's grandfather, who started TrainWorld, Peter Bianco. When I first met Pete, he did not have a store. He was working out of his house, and because Pete was such an enterprising businessman, he had more trains in his house than I could possibly see. I'm from New Jersey, and I would make the trek to Brooklyn to do business with Pete, and Pete always enjoyed my restorations because they sold well, because they looked nice. Most of the trains that were available at the time were not really in great condition. So I came in one day and I said, "Pete, why don't you have a store?" So Pete is like, A couple of months later, "Lenny, what? I got a new location." So next time I went to Brooklyn, here I am at TrainWorld. I believe the first location, Kenny will correct me on this, was Avenue M. Is that right, Kenny?
Yep.
And he'd opened the store. Before you know it, that store was loaded with trains and people. People were coming and going out of that store. It was probably one of the best train stores ever. And Pete, and of course Kenny's grandmother too, were both really, really great business people, great people to deal with. I'd see Pete at the train shows all the time, and I think it's quite amazing that Pete's son, Kenny, and his grandson, Kenny Jr., and the whole family has contributed to the store. I think it's wonderful. They're great people to deal with. Terrific store, terrific trains. They've changed with the times, and any business that has stayed in business for 50 years is a testament to the people who operate it. So I'd like to say congratulations, Kenny, and your whole family on your 50th anniversary for TrainWorld and Trainland. Thank you.
Hi, my name is Matthew Tager. I've been with Model Power for about 45, 50 years. And I'd like to tell you the first time I met Peter Bianco from TrainWorld in Brooklyn. It was at the New York City Toy Show in the 70s, probably mid to late 70s. I was in my early 20s. He had been working with my father, and he always did. He would come in about 4 or 5 o'clock, which was late, of course. And I hadn't really met him. The first time I met him, he says, Matty. No one else called me Matty. He says, Matty, puts his arm around me. He said, you got to work with your father. The prices are just, you got to help me on the prices. They're just too high. I can't do the business with your father. Now, they've been doing business together for 5, 6 years. He says, I got to get a better deal for the customer. So He puts his arm around me and he says, I want you to work with your father and come back with something better. He says, I'll wait for you to call me. So that's when it started in the 70s. I was still pretty young. And then I would only see him once or twice a year at the toy show in New York City at the 205th Avenue building. And I would go to Brooklyn once or twice with my father. And they would go and out. They would dump me and they would go to eat, or they'd go on the boat afterwards. So that was my first experience with Peter. But it was interesting is, even then, he was interested in doing programs. He was the only one who wanted to say, you know, I want to do 10 freight cars together and I want to sell them for X dollars. He was the only one, innovative one, who could put that together. Or I want to sell a locomotive and passenger cars. What about the track? I want to do a track pack and I want to include this with the buildings. So he was very innovative, and yet he was very family oriented and friendly. Once you were friends with TrainWorld, excuse me, it's a family business, and we're a family business. That's why we got along so well. And it continues to this day. From Kenny Bianco to Ken Bianco, the same thing. My son is friendly with Ken Bianco, and I'm more friendly with Kenny Bianco. So the experience with TrainWorld goes way back. And now, of course, they have the Trainland, which has been around for, I don't know, 25 years? Yeah, more. So that was my experience with Peter, and he's a thoroughly very bright, enjoyable man, and he's changed that business. He's changed the hobby business. There's no question. He was the one who, he didn't just throw a locomotive out and sell it for that. He did it with this. He did packages. He thought about the process, and I think who benefited the most was the consumer. So today there's still TrainWorld, Trainland's customers. That's my experience with Biancos. Thanks.
To all my friends at TrainWorld, I want to congratulate you on your 50th year in business. What a milestone. It just doesn't seem that long. When I first met Peter Bianco, your grandfather, father, who was running TrainWorld at the time, actually had a part in getting me interested in manufacturing my own products back in 1977, 78 time frame. I was working for Williams, and they made a little diner, roadside diner, and it was a Madison car body, and it didn't have a base. So I went out and I made a base, and I took a little white tape to make the parking stripes and painted them black, and I thought they were really something that I could sell, and I'd taken them to train shows and wasn't getting a lot of interest. And I really think Jerry Williams called Peter Bianco, and Peter Bianco called me one day and said, Mike, I want to buy 12 of those. And I thought, wow, someone was going to buy that many. And he bought them, and he negotiated the price with me, and I was really excited, and I started to make more in my parents' basement. And so that's at the prelim of me getting 5 years later, didn't know it, but I was going to get into the manufacturing business. So thanks for all the business and being a great dealer of ours, and all you do for MTH Electric Trains, and congratulations.
Okay. In 1974, I had two passions. It was a financial crisis in '74, so I bought a chain of banks. I was 25 years old now, so I got the bug to start collecting Lionel Trains again. So I'd buy a model railroader at the Equitable Building in Des Moines, Iowa, and during the board meeting, when there was a lull, I'd look at TrainWorld's ads, and after the board meeting, which are always too long, I'd call Pete Bianco and buy some trains, and that was my reward. So every month I bought trains from Pete Bianco, and he was doing things that most people never even thought of. He was holding back inventory. So he was basically the Madison Hardware of the new Fundimensions items. And so he issued a 44-page catalog, and you could order anything that Lionel made from 1970 to 1974, 1976. And what the catalog really did for a lot of collectors, including myself, it was like a checklist. So you could see what you had, what you didn't have, and what you needed. And he had the first really catalog that was kind of like a checklist long before T&M Books and Greenberg. So I own Heartland Hobby Wholesale, and I bought trains from Pete 45 years ago, and today my company sells TrainWorld a lot of trains. So thanks guys, thanks for a happy 50th anniversary.
Hi, I'm Jonathan Meador, and we're here in Piko, America's service department. And of course we all like trains, so we've got a few of those here. But right now I want to talk to you about something else. I want to talk to you about another man who liked trains. His name was Peter Bianco, and about 50 years ago he was a sharp man, and he saw an opportunity where maybe others had overlooked it, and he said, I really need to be in the business of selling trains to people and bringing them happiness. And of course we now know that business that he started as TrainWorld and Trainland, and even though it's a family business, it's grown into one of, if not the biggest model train retailers in the whole world. And you know, I got to know Peter a few times, in meeting him a few times, and got to know him a little bit, but I've even gotten to know his family more than that, and I think that says a lot about a man, as what kind of a legacy he leaves behind. His son Ken, that we now call Ken Sr., has run the business and made it grow for many years, and now Ken Jr., Peter's grandson, is also taking the lead. And business has changed over the years, but some things remain the same. You know, there are different ways of promoting and marketing, and Ken Jr. is all on board with those, but certain things remain, and that's honesty and treating customers right and being smart businessmen, and I respect them for that immensely. So here's wishing them at least another 50 years of great success in the model train business, and I hope their train keeps rolling along.
Hi, my name is Lou Palumbo. I'm the owner of the Underground Railroad Shop in Newcastle, PA. I've been in business for 35 years, and I'm glad we're doing a tribute to Pete Bianco, his 50th year anniversary. That brings me back a lot of memories of Pete. I met him years ago at York when I first started coming in 1978. Prior to that, I bought trains from him from the TrainWorld out of the Model Railroader advertisement, and I bought things from them, and I really liked their way they handled their business. They were friendly people with a strong New York accent. I can hardly understand the girls, but I learned to understand it. They were New Yorkers, and so was Pete. Pete became a dear friend of mine. As we would go to New York, we hit it off right away because he was like a father to me. We'd talk business, we'd talk Italian, and we'd talk hairdressing, because Pete was a hairdresser and I wasn't, but the fact is, it showed how they did different talents he brought to the train world. Pete was an honest, fair, and downright guy that I liked to deal with. It was really funny. He would come at the train show at York, and when I would end the show, I would have a lot of things extra, and he would come with two little boys following him. I think it was Kenny and Paulie, and they would pull a wagon, and he'd buy everything I had left from my shop, from my store here at York, my train display, because he went up to New York and got New York prices. I said, you know, I couldn't get this prices in Pittsburgh, but Pete got New York prices, and he just said, Lou, what do you got left? And the boys would follow him with a wagon, would fill it up, and they'd go back and load it up in New York, and he'd make a killing on my stuff. But I didn't mind that, because Pete was a good guy, and he got rid of my stuff that I couldn't use. But we would talk from time to time, go out to eat, would spend time, would go to a certain restaurant in town, would have the prime rib was excellent. And Pete and I talked, and he talked a lot about life and trains, and I really enjoyed him, and we maintained a relationship throughout. And I see now that his son Kenny and grandson Kenny both have taken Pete's personality, and they're lucky to have him as a grandfather, because they got it through their genes. They're ready to treat people like you want to be treated. That's my deco in life, and that's his. And I think that Pete deserves everything that the kids have given him throughout the years, and they gave to him what he gave back. And so running the train business, TrainWorld, Trainland, is Pete Bianco all around. And I think that you guys that are listening to this will remember the Kenny Bianco gang is all Pete Bianco. And Pete Bianco, you'll always be in my heart. Remember that.
Hi, I'm Ken Bianco Sr., and I'm one of the owners of TrainWorld and TrainLand, which is a family business with me, my brothers and sisters, and now my son and my nephews, Anthony and Paulie, and even getting further down the ladder with brother-in-laws, Frank and Phil, and it's a growing business for us. It's definitely a passion type thing that my mother Eileen and my father Peter Bianco has started years ago. Any great man is a great woman, and without my mother, none of this would have happened. She was truly the force behind my father doing it, helping him do whatever it took to make it happen, and she enjoyed it herself. She enjoyed the women and the men in the hobby, and it just kind of snowballed into something that's been a lifelong journey for my whole family, the Biancos. Years ago, my father, back in the 60s, bought us a Lionel Train set, and it was a like-new condition, pre-war train. Bought me and my brothers it for Christmas, and it was a great gift, and we were excited. We were playing with it, and then my father found out it was worth a few bucks more than he paid, and he said, "Kids, sons, don't play with that. We're gonna buy you another one, and we'll go from there." And he ends up buying us another set of trains, the same scenario, pre-war, clean, like new. And he said, "All right, guys, don't play with that one. I'm going to get you another one." And then it just started to escalate. My father became interested in the hobby, and he fell in love with the trains. Him and my mother, they had a passion for it. They enjoyed the people in the hobby more than anything, and they had a camaraderie with everyone. They were just had a horse trading, buying, selling, wheeling, dealing, upgrading the collection, getting run grade stuff to run on the layout. So it just kept snowballing into something. My father decided to sell it a little more often of this stuff, so he started in the basement of our house, and I guess it was a weekend type business or nighttime after his other job, and it just kind of got out of control with that too. It just the basement filled up with trains, and my mother and father would look at the for sale used trains and all the papers, and my mother would be the runner. My father would talk to the people on the phone. My mother would go run during the day to go buy the trains, and then my father would call fellow collectors. "I just picked this up. Are you interested in this?" And somebody had this to trade for it, and they would just wheel and deal all the time with that. And so after the basement kind of got filled up, they decided to open up a business, TrainWorld, in Brooklyn, 1510 Avenue M. And they bought the building, and then they decided to be a family business, and my mother and father opened it, and me and my brothers and sisters were working in the business come Christmas time, and it was mobbed. The store was just mobbed. We had to let them in like 10 at a time. It was a small store, but they waited outside patiently. They had to get in and get that Lionel train set for the holidays. Back in the days when we were working out of the basement before we opened up the store, my father wheeling and dealing with collectors, I was the repair guy. My father used to pay me, I think, $1 an engine to overhaul an engine, 50 cents for a tender, and I'd get back home from school and I'd do the repairs, and I'd just line them up, and I learned quite a bit. My father taught me quite a bit. He was just one of those guys that believed in taking care of the customer and doing the right thing for him. Yeah. And also around the holiday time, we were open 7 days a week. So there was not too much sports time for me and my brothers to play, because we were always working at the store Saturday and Sundays. Oh, it was a fascinating industry, and people thought my parents were a little crazy to drop everything to do that, but we proved them wrong. Now we got this empire going on, 50,000 square feet, huge mail order operation. and 2 retail stores. So thanks to Mom and Dad, thank you very much. It's been a wonderful ride, and thank you, the customer, for riding along with us in this journey.
We just want to say thank you very much for joining us today, and thank you for your continued support. We could not have done it for the past 50 years without you.